Thanks for joining us for the Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom webinar. I'm Maggie Montemuro, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator at Savvy Ladies. I want to remind everyone that if you have a question during the webinar, please type it into the chat box. If you're joining us by phone, you can email your question to info@savvyladies.org. Today's presenter is Sharon Lowenheim, founder and owner of Organizing Goddess. Sharon is a certified professional organizer who helps people live large in small spaces. Sharon is an MIT grad and received her master's and MBA from the University of Pennsylvania. Sharon is also a former president of the NYC chapter of the National Association of Professional Organizers. Thank you for being with us today, Sharon, and I'll hand it over to you now.
Great. Hope everybody can hear me. I am really happy to be back on the schedule for the Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom Weekly webinars, or I like to think of them W to the fourth power. Today's topic is turn your trash into cash, and because I only have half an hour, I'm going to keep my goals fairly modest. So here is the agenda, really just 4 items. First is just an overview of how much are my unused items costing me. Not only how much are they costing you in a financial sense, but how much are they costing you in a psychic sense? How much are they essentially messing up your life? Once you've made the decision that you are ready to get these unused items out of your life, I'm going to give you some guidance. What are the best ways to sell my unwanted items? The preferable way to get rid of them is to get cash in your pocket for them. The next best way is to get a tax deduction. So I'm going to go over ways that you can get a tax deduction for the items that you can't sell but are willing to donate. And then we're going to talk a little bit about offsite storage. When does it make sense? When doesn't it? And what are some of the alternatives? So moving along. Let's talk about the cost of unused items. As I mentioned, there's the financial cost as well as the psychic cost. So on the financial end, are you spending money to store or maintain your unused items? So you might be storing them in offsite storage. You might be somebody lucky enough to have on-site storage in your apartment building or office building where you can store these things, but you're still paying for that. Does it cost you money to keep it clean or keep it running smoothly? So one way to save money essentially on these items is to stop paying for storage or maintenance and get these things out of your life. So that's one of the ways in which unused items could be costing you money. Another way is there are items that you have that you're holding on to that would cost you money just to make them usable again. It could be something that needs cleaning, something that needs repairing. Jewelry, clothes, and shoes are some of the prime suspects there. I know when I'm working with my clients, we often come across a pile or a bag of clothes, and why is this here? Oh, it has to go to the cleaners. It has to go to the tailor. Or we have a bag of jewelry that's sitting there being clutter essentially. Why is that there? Why isn't that in your jewelry box? Oh, because those things need repair. But the client is delaying having those things done. And so clutter is being created, and it would actually take money to make these things usable again. In the meantime, they're not being used and could probably be done away with because it's not like they're really being missed while they're not being used and sitting in a pile or a bag. So it doesn't pay to throw good money after bad. Another thing is, are you devoting precious storage space to it? Now, I'm not talking about storage space that you're paying for, like offsite or on-site storage, but I'm talking about the storage space that, especially like me, you live in Manhattan, is at a premium. Are you devoting storage space to things that you really don't need? What happens is you might have a closet that's packed a little too tight, that is difficult for you to get things in and out of. You might even have items that are too big to put in your closet or your drawers or cabinets, or they're not too big to fit in. They're just the closets are too packed for you to put these items away. So they're sitting there in plain sight, maybe in the corner of a room, maybe on a desk, maybe in a hallway, and they are essentially reducing your quality of life. Seeing clutter all around you, and also not being able to get things in and out of your closet easily, not being able to get dressed easily every day, these things are definitely reducing your quality of life. So you're paying a cost there. And the next thing is really talking about, are you paying a psychic cost? And let me give an example of some of those. Some of my clients say, oh, I can't possibly get rid of that. I paid so much for it. Well, you paid for it once, and that's what's known in economics as a sunk cost. Continuing to hold on to it does not get you the money back, and it costs you in, it is psychic cost. It costs you in emotion, frustration, aggravation. Because how do you feel when you look at something you spent a lot of money on and you're not using it? You feel kind of stupid, right? So why continue to pay psychically and let this thing ruin your life when you can actually get it out of your life and maybe get some money for it? Another example where I see that a lot is people who hold on to clothes that don't fit anymore. And that it's usually, unfortunately, clothes that are too small because people do tend to get heavier as they age. Some people say, well, I'm keeping those clothes that are too small as inspiration to lose some weight. And I always ask, how's that working out for you? When you look in the closet and you see things that are two sizes too small, does it make you feel inspired or does that make you feel like crap? And I think that life is too short for us to keep things hanging around that every time we look at them, they make us feel like crap. So those things are prime candidates for getting out. And another one is people that have boxes in the corner. I say, what's that? Oh, that's when I left my last job. I brought home those boxes. That's what was in my desk, but I just haven't been able to sit down and go through those boxes. It's just too emotional for me. Well, how does it feel to look in the corner every time you walk by it and think, oh, look, that represents a job I had that for some disappointing circumstances I'm no longer in. Maybe I got fired. Maybe I quit because it was so horrible. And so you're being reminded of failure every time you walk past those. So psychic cost is actually very big, even though it doesn't take money out of your pocket. If you look at some of the things that are sitting around making a psychic cost on you, you could actually get some money back for them. And I love this quote from John Ruskin that every increased possession loads us with a new weariness. And my clients tell me that as they get rid of things, they just feel lighter and lighter. So now that I've gone through the reasons why unused items cost us, whether it's in money or in just good mental health, let's go through what you can do to actually get rid of those items. The first thing we're going to talk about is selling your unwanted items. Like I said, cash in your hand is always the best choice. First, let me just tell you that everybody thinks their stuff is worth more than it really is. I've had clients tell me, particularly when they're looking at old pieces of collectibles, Star Wars merchandise, they'll say, oh, that's worth a lot of money. Well, I contend that it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay you for it. So if you get on eBay and look at how much are these selling for, and you find out they're barely clearing 99 cents, maybe it's not worth as much as you think. So people do have to be realistic about how much their stuff is actually worth. If you paid money for it and you got use out of it, you think of it as being more valuable than somebody else would think of it. And also, it's like for the car, once you drive it out of the showroom, it immediately drops in value. That's because it's no longer new, it's now used. So everything that you bought is used, it's not new anymore. So it's never going to be worth as much as you think. So that caveat being put out there, first place that you could go is to a consignment store, which is where everybody always wants to go first because they think that's where they're going to get top dollar for their things. Let me just warn you that consignment stores are very, very picky. For those of you that don't know, consignment stores are stores where you bring your things. They don't pay you up front. Your things sit there. The store will come up with a value, and you only get money if those things sell to somebody. And even if they do sell, the consignment store themselves takes a hefty percentage. So maybe you'll get 50% of what it's sold for. As a result, because they're taking up their precious floor space with your stuff, they're going to be very picky. Typically, they only want designer things, very high-end designer things, and usually only within the last couple of seasons. So you're not really going to do as well as a consignment store as you think. There are some other ways that you can do consignment. This, of course, being the 21st century, there are websites that do consignment. One of them is called The Real Real. You can find that online. Another one is Tradesy. They buy designer bags and shoes and apparel. Again, there's a list of designers they'll accept at these sites. It tends to be wider than the list that you'll find at consignment stores. The Real Real in some cities will actually come to your home. I believe the website said 16 cities. I know New York was one of them because I've had clients who've had the Real Real come to their home and look at their things. Tradesy, you actually take a picture and load it up online, and they help you list it. So again, with these, they're a consignment model, so you don't get paid unless these things sell. But I think the percentage there is a little better than going to a consignment store. There's also websites that will buy your stuff outright. MoveLoot is a website that they'll send people out to look at your furniture and take it if they like it. I think you send pictures first, and they pay you outright. They take the risk of selling it, which means that it's not going to get as much as if you sold it directly to a purchaser. But if you're trying to get some furniture out of your space, it's a really great alternative. One that will do designer bags, shoes, apparel, accessories, similar to those consignment sites, is called Cash in My Bag. They will pay you upfront for things that they think they can sell. Another one I neglected to list on here that just handles designer bags is Rebag, Rebagg, and they will buy your bags outright if they think they can sell them. The most reputable site for selling your cell phones, tablets, iPods, and even Apple computers is Gazelle. They've been around a while and they do well. Declutter, and I did not spell that wrong, it's Declutter without the final E, will pay you outright for CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, and your electronic games. And Antique Cupboard or Replacements are two sites that will buy your silverware in China. I had very good luck with Antique Cupboard when I was selling my great aunt's sterling silver flatware. I found that I got a better price on that pattern from Antique Cupboard than I did from Replacements. Plus, Antique Cupboard pays for the shipping, whereas with Replacements, I would have had to pay for the shipping myself, and silverware is heavy. But those are two good alternatives if you're looking to get rid of those things. And then finally, there are websites where you are selling directly to the purchaser. Everything I've mentioned up until now, they're the middleman. But here you're finding the person and you're getting the money yourself. And that's usually how you're going to get your best amount of money. The most famous of those are eBay or Craigslist. I personally have no experience with Craigslist, but I know many people that have had experience and a very positive experience with Craigslist. I myself have had a lot of positive experience with eBay. I've made hundreds of dollars on eBay over the years. I find that getting rid of anything in my home that looks like it might have some sort of value, there's usually somebody out there that wants to buy it. So it's gone very smoothly for me. I found with eBay the best way to sell something is if you have something that it's really obvious what the value is, because the buyer can go look up the price of it somewhere else. So for example, just 2 weeks ago, I sold a digital camera that was about 4 years old. I got $59 for it, which is much better than it sitting in my drawer. So, and you know, people can look up what does that model camera sell for? How does it compare to newer versions that are out now? And so I think I did pretty well on it, considering it was just sitting in there collecting dust. So this is some good ways to sell your unwanted items. If you can't find on this slide anything listed that you want to sell and you have something else in mind, go into Google or some other search function and say, sell my blank, fill in the blank, sell my car, sell my sofa. And believe it or not, you will get lots of hits. Okay, so that's selling. Let's move on to the next best situation, which is to get a tax deductible donation. Now, whereas selling something will put the cash directly in your hand or your pocket or your bank account, making a tax deductible donation of your items will not put the cash in your pocket right away. You don't actually see the benefit from it until you file your taxes. So if you bring something now to be donated, it's December, means you in a few months from now, March, April, you'll file your taxes. You'll be able to deduct the value of that item off of your taxable income before your taxes are computed. But that's only if you itemize your deductions. If you take a standard deductions, this is of no use to you whatsoever. So some of the good alternatives here, if you live in New York City, like I do, you have local thrift shops. I'm lucky enough to be near what I call Thrift Shop Row in the East 80s on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I can walk to the corner and have a choice of 3 thrift shops within 2 blocks. Another great location is on East 23rd Street. There's like 4 or 5 of them on 1 block, which is really great. But all over the city, there's thrift shops. There's Housing Works in Manhattan and Brooklyn. Every neighborhood practically, if I ask a client, do you have a thrift shop nearby? The answer is almost always, yeah, I have Housing Works. So if you live elsewhere, look around for thrift shops near you. Almost everybody has a Goodwill or a Salvation Army if you don't have anything a little more high end. And when you take your things to a thrift shop, you're going to have to estimate how much those things are worth. And there's something online called the Salvation Army Valuation Guide that you can use as a guide for estimating the worth of your things. It tends to be pretty low end. So if your things are better than the average, you could consider estimating them at a higher value, but this at least gives you a starting point. Most of the thrift shops are drop off only. Some of them will come and pick up. If you have furniture to donate to Housing Works, they will come and pick up your furniture. And they also, when they're picking up your furniture, will pick up other things as well. But they're very picky about furniture. And with most places that are going to come pick up your furniture, they want to see pictures first and make sure they're going to be able to sell it because it takes up a lot of room in the store. Another pickup option is the Salvation Army itself. They'll pick up pretty much anything: clothes, household items, books, furniture. So you can call 1-800-SA-TRUCK, or you can also make the appointment online. One caveat about the Salvation Army is that if you want it picked up this week, you're out of luck. Usually it takes at least 3 weeks for you to be able to get an appointment. So if you think you're going to be generating some bags or boxes of things that you want to donate, make the appointment now and then start filling the boxes over the next few weeks. There's also charities that take specific items. So there are charities that where you can donate a working computer or computer components. There's even places you can donate your bras. So you could donate your car. So you could go into the web search and do donate my, and then fill in the blank, and places will pop up that are legitimate charities where you can donate things. So that's someplace else that you can go to if you're looking for a specific type of item that you want to donate. I'll give you one warning here is what I call the $500 rule. If you make a total of more than $500 worth of non-cash gifts, what's called gifts in kind, in a calendar year, you have to file an extra form with your tax return, Form 8283. You can find it online, non-cash charitable contributions, and you have to file that with your income tax return. And what it's going to ask you is what the date that you donated the items, how much they were worth, when you bought them. So you need to document some things about your items, estimate them as best as possible if you don't have the actual documentation. How much, when you bought them, how much you paid for them, etc. So you're going to need to provide some additional information, and that's a total of more than 500. That's not 500 per item. So since it's December, if you have a lot of stuff to donate 500 this year, 500 again in January, and that'll cover you. And also be aware that if you have any item worth more than $5,000 where you're claiming a deduction of $5,000 or more, and that's per item, then you need to get an appraisal on that. And that information goes on the Form 8283 as well. So those are tax deductible donations. Let's talk a little bit about offsite storage. A very wise veteran organizer coined the phrase, clutter is postponed decisions. And I love that so much, I'm going to say it again. Clutter is postponed decisions. Every time you say, I'm not going to worry about what to do with this right now, I'll just put it aside, you have created clutter. So to me, offsite storage is the ultimate in postponed decisions. By paying for offsite storage every month, you are paying the cost of indecision. You haven't decided what to do with those things, and there they sit, and you're paying for that. I think that offsite storage is okay in limited circumstances. For example, you are relocating, the new house isn't ready yet. You're in temporary quarters, so you put the bulk of your possessions into storage until the new place is ready, and it's going to be 6 months or less. There's other situations where it's going to be very temporary. It doesn't make sense for you to junk all your things because you're going to need them, so you put them in storage. But putting things in offsite storage just because you haven't decided what to do with them and just letting them sit there month after month, people think they're going to put their stuff in for under a year. But when I talk to my clients, everything's usually there at least 5 years. And if you think about how much are you spending per month and how long do you expect to keep it there, let's say you're spending $100 per month for 12 months in a year. So that's $1,200 a year. If you keep it there 4 years, you've spent $5,000. And you have to say, how much would it cost you to buy those items new, rather than spending $5,000 for them to sit there in a storage unit, and for them to not even be new items, for them to be old items that you may never use. You could save the money of storing them and buy the item again if you ever need it. Now, I understand there are certain things that are worth more than that, or they have sentimental value. But again, if you can't manage to integrate them into where you live and make use of them or put them on display, you have to ask yourself, why do I even own these? So as you can see, I'm not a big fan of offsite storage. So what you might want to consider doing is to sell or donate the items that you're storing. Not only will you get cash in your pocket from the methods that we just talked about, you'll save the cost of storage every month. So it could be a huge boon for you to just make a decision about those items, sell them, donate them, and eliminate the storage cost. If you do find that there are items you really do want to store, rather than paying for a storage unit, consider a box-based storage company. And the one I'll recommend is called Box Butler. They're here in New York, but I understand they're also rolling out nationwide soon. What I like about those kind of box-based storage companies is that they bring you your stuff when you want it. So unlike a storage unit where you have to go there to see your stuff and find your stuff, and they tend to be a little intimidating and creepy and overwhelming. As long as you label your boxes and what's in them, the box butler or another box-based storage company will come pick up your items, take them away for you, so you don't have to go out to bring them there. As long as you've labeled the boxes and kept track of what's in them, let's say you want something back, you call the box butler and say, I'd like box number 3, and they bring it back to you. You get out what you need. You call them again. They'll take it back there to storage. So you're paying for really just the space that you're using, and you have access to your items in a way that you just don't when they're in a storage unit. So you might consider that if you can reduce the amount that you're storing, then you could save a lot of money, and like I said, get some money back for the things that you have been storing. So those are the key things that I wanted to cover. What I'd like to mention here on my next slide, I show you a couple of opportunities for us to continue our relationship that we've just established in the last 23 minutes. One is I write a weekly organizing tip that I send out via email. If you are interested in getting that organizing tip directly into your inbox, you can go to my website, www.organizinggoddess.com, and there's a place for you to sign up for my mailing list. And if you get it and decide it's not worth it, or you don't like it, or you get too much email already, it's very easy to unsubscribe, and I won't take it personally. You might also have a very specific organizing question that you would like to discuss with me, and I offer free 30-minute consultations to people that I haven't worked with before, and you can email me to set one of those up as well. So those are a couple of opportunities that you have to continue the dialogue that I guess right now it's a monologue, but I'd love to turn it into a dialogue. So that being said, I'm going to move ahead and ask if anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Sharon. That was excellent. So I'd just like to remind everyone that if you do have questions, you can type them into the chat box. If you're joining us by phone, send an email to info@savvyladies.org, and I'll get started on some of the questions that came in already.
Okay.
This first one is, have you ever used one of the phone apps I see on commercials that claim you can sell unwanted items in just a few minutes? I really wonder how reliable they are.
I have not used any of those, and I'm not even aware which ones they are. I suspect that they're very similar to things that you have, web-based sites. It's just that you're using the phone to take the picture of the item and then posting on the web with your phone. So if you'd like to, email me with names of some of those, I would be very interested to do a little more research on them. And I'll let you know, because if this is something that I can recommend to my clients, I'd love to know more about them.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is, I have some old clothing that I've been thinking of donating. It would probably only be valued around $100. Is it always worth it to get receipts for tax deductions, or do small contributions not really give me any tax breaks?
Yeah, it definitely is going to give you a tax break. I'm sorry, was there more to the question?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, yeah, you're always going to get a tax break. Most of the places that you donate, they're going to give you the form to fill out about what you're donating. Then it's up to you to come up with the value. So you would estimate that at $100, and that takes $100 off of your taxable income, and whatever your tax rate is on that. Let's say your tax rate's 30%, so you've saved $30. I mean, it's not a huge amount, but every little bit adds up. And you can also say that what are some of the other options for these items? One is for them to continue to sit in your house, which is not a great option because it just makes your house more crowded. Another thing is for you to throw them out, which is not great because they end up in a landfill. You could take them over to somewhere that does fabric recycling, where they won't end up in a landfill that end up getting used. And so these are, that takes a little bit of effort for the same amount of effort if you can get a little bit of a tax deduction and know that they're going out there to benefit whatever charity you're donating them to. I think that that's a win-win. Benefits the charity, gives you a little bit of cash.
Okay, great. And another question is, what tips do you have for someone who can't seem to part with large items for sentimental reasons? I don't have space in my house, but I really can't imagine letting go of old family pieces.
Okay, so that's one of the things that when I work with my clients to help them downsize, I have one of my basic organizing principles is use it, love it, or lose it. And what by that I mean, if you use it all the time, like your toothbrush or drinking glasses, I wouldn't tell you to get rid of it. On the other end of the spectrum, if you love it, if it means a lot to you, I would never tell you to get rid of it. And it's all the stuff in between that you don't use and you don't love that you should think about getting rid of. So that being said, if you have these items that are really important to you for sentimental reasons, there's no reason why you should get rid of them unless they are reducing your quality of life. If they are somehow causing you issues because they take up too much room or take up too much space in your house, then you need to rethink the trade-offs. If they're taking up too much room, then what's a better way to store them? Should I store them offsite? Is there some way that I can take a picture of the item, frame the picture, and then actually get rid of the item itself, donate it, sell it, make sure it gets into the hands of someone who can appreciate it? None of us like to think of things that were left to us by loved ones going in the trash. But if you can get them in the hands, like through eBay, I sold things that belonged to my late parents. I felt good knowing that these items that were important to my parents ended up in the hands of people that would also appreciate them. And then I didn't have to sit there and look at a box in my house. So you can really question just, what the attachment you have to them is. Can it be honored in a way that doesn't take up so much room for you? And if there are things that you really, really can't part with, can you figure out a way to use it, to display it, or maybe store it offsite?
Okay, thanks. And another question is, with the online consignment sites you mentioned, how do you set up shipping and payment?
Typically, they will pay for shipping. Some of them will send you a bag or a box to put your things in. So, and then you just need to, take it to the post office, or if you live in a building with a doorman where you can leave it with the doorman, they can come, the post office will come pick it up from you. So it really depends on the site, but I would not let that be an impediment for you trying to get rid of those things. So yeah, you'd have to just look on each site and see how they handle shipping.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you again, Sharon, for such a wonderful presentation. Thanks to everyone who joined us and asked some great questions. We hope you'll join us again. And thank you so much for all your help today, Sharon. It was really great.
My pleasure. And if there's any other questions that people think of after we're already offline, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer any additional questions that come up.
Okay, thank you so much.